is the point. Our next poet is Henry Bowers.
Yep, Henry Bowers.
Yeah. Slam Poetry 2006, the 10th anniversary of Miss Poet Africa here. Henry Bowers, all the way from Sweden, Uppsala. Fire.
Here's a poem about a little boy trying to sell stories for money. But there's a problem. Nobody seems to be willing to buy them. Stories for sale, here we go. There's a kid in my town about 10 years old with a heart of sheer gold, though it may appear cold. His eyes are windows into a scarred mind. It's safe to say this kid has seen some hard times. His clothes are dirty, and so is his face. So with sparks in his eyes, he tries to show us his ways. He's got stories to tell that'll teach us a thing or two. He'll tell them if you pay him, he will preach or just sing a tune. But nowadays, customers are rare, he's figured, and feelings of anger and despair were triggered. Still, he's patiently waiting for our minds to change, and all the other kids think he's kinda strange. The way he's talking to himself, scribbling letters in the dust. He stays the same when others think it's better to adjust. His plan was to eat for the money he'd earn. If people show no respect, they get none in return. So now there's no turning back. Like when you broke in a seal, he'd rather steal than beg these folks for a meal. He's grown accustomed to jokes and sarcastic gags. He carries all of his belongings in a plastic bag. Tells himself not to lose hope, and he's trying to sell his thoughts for pennies, but nobody's buying. They pay him no mind. They don't know what they're missing. He's got stories to tell, but nobody listens. Never have I ever seen a kid with a sadder smile. Poor child. There's a kid in my town, he's got stories to tell. Compared to his life, yours is boring as hell. While you leave home every morning for your 9 to 5, this kid is working with his words to keep his mind alive. No one knows the story of his mother and father. Maybe he's willing to tell it if only someone would bother. It's frightening, he's writing like he never did before. His notebook's got a grip of him like he's Sydney Orr. Tries to get your attention, but it's all in vain. Caught without an umbrella in the pouring rain. But cold people bother him more than cold water. And not enough to keep him from exploring old borders and forcing them forward to where no man's gone before. He's got stories to tell, and he demands some reward. Instead, he's ridiculed by most and spitted on by some. He led the way, but people, they just didn't want to come. I know some of his stories, he's told me quite a few, but you know, they're not meant for me to recite to you. Ask him yourself, because with no doubt, the stories are best heard from his own mouth. I admire the fire that is still in his eyes, a hero in a somewhat silly disguise. He knows the truth, and he's willing to die. He lives more in one day than we will in our lives. Never have I ever seen a kid with a sadder smile. Makes me wonder what could possibly have happened to that child. Poor child.
Oh, yeah! Yo, Slam Poetry, one more time, live and direct. From the band center, yes.
Yeah, that's Henry Bowers all the way from Sweden. Now judges.
It's time for judges to hold up their pathetic scores. I mean, their scores.
9, 9,
We've got 9.
10.
We got 9. We got 8. We got 10, and another judge has got 10, 9. So it's 999, 8, 10.
And that makes it a 27.
Oh,
I did my
200.
math.
Sure
Yeah.
does.